Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So I want to start off today's video by just saying thank you all so much for 10.5 years of support. We just hit 500,000 subscribers, which is an incredible milestone, and obviously couldn't have done any of it without you guys supporting 2A News and Reviews for this long length of time. It's been an incredible roller coaster, and I love having you guys with me. I do not take this for granted. So again, I just wanted to say thank you all very much for the support. Okay, so with that being said, I really feel like today's video is a double win, because not only did we get a major victory in California yesterday with an injunction placed against the sensitive locations aspect of SB2, but we also have a response from the governor. And so we have a major victory and a major freak out on our hands here. And it's really interesting because the governor's response to all this is pretty much exactly what you would imagine. It's like a complete freak out. It's a childish response. It's a how dare you could do this to me. And so we're going to talk about both today. But I know you guys are most interested about the governor's freak out. So we're going to talk about what Newsom said about the judge's ruling yesterday. Now, before we get started, I want to talk about today's sponsor, which is Delete Me, an amazing service that allows you to get your online privacy back. Believe it or not, there are data brokerage sites out there whose sole mission is to gather and sell your personal data. So what is Delete Me and how does it help? Well, Delete Me is a company that cares about your personal privacy. And so what they will do is collect your information and then search those data brokerage sites and remove your personal identifying information from them. Now, I personally have a Delete Me account, and in just the first week alone, they've already removed my information from 15 sites. Your dashboard gives you all of the information that you're going to need in order to control your online privacy. For instance, some of the data you can find on your dashboard are listings reviewed. In my case, there was 8,881, and the type of exposed data that they found. So if your online data privacy is important to you, join Delete Me. Use the link down below to save 20% or use the discount code COPPERJACKET. Okay, so before we get into what Newsom said, just a real quick recap as to what happened yesterday in case you hadn't heard, and to provide some context as to his comments. So just yesterday, a federal district court judge in the state of California placed an injunction against enforcement of portions of California's SB2, which again is their Bruen Respons bill. It's really just an anti-carry bill that said, look, we're going to make it harder for you to get your permit. And if you actually do get your permit, you're not going to be able to carry just about anywhere because almost everything is considered a sensitive location. Well, Judge Carney took a look at that and said, no, you can't do that. It's unconstitutional, and placed an injunction against enforcement of a majority of these sensitive locations. So places that you couldn't go to before that you now can go to would be like medical facilities, casinos, restaurants that serve alcohol, and all of these different places, even private businesses that didn't post up a sign that said you were allowed there. Well, now you can carry there even if they don't have that sign. So it was a huge win. Well, that didn't sit very well with the governor of the state of California, so he came out with this response. Now, we'll analyze this here in just a second, but I'm sure that a majority of you can pick up on the absurdity of most of this, where it says, Governor Newsom's statement on concealed carry ruling. It says, quote, defying common sense, the ruling outrageously calls California's data-backed gun safety efforts repugnant. What is repugnant is this ruling, which greenlights the proliferation of guns in our hospitals, libraries, children's playground spaces, which should be safe for all. Quote, California will keep fighting to defend our laws and to enshrine a right to safety in the Constitution. Now, I didn't memorize that statement, so I got my cheat sheet here, but that dude is big mad. He is super mad because he wanted to impose whatever type of control he wanted, regardless of what the Constitution says. In California, they tend to do that. The Constitution's more of like a speed bump than a roadblock, and so they go over it quite a bit. But the judge said, hey, look, you're violating people's constitutional rights. You cannot do this. And so I am barring you from enforcing this major portion of SB2. But when we take a look at the statement here, it says defying common sense, right? Just take a look at the first thing. It says defying common sense. Well, look, the Constitution is the most common sense that you're going to find out there. And so you're not defying common sense. And the judge wasn't defying common sense. He was upholding the rule of law via our Bill of Rights. So he says, this ruling outrageously calls California's data-backed gun safety efforts repugnant. Well, it is repugnant, and it doesn't matter what your data is. They always seem to think that that somehow fills the gaps in their narrative, right? That as long as the data says that it would be better if they passed an unconstitutional law. They should be allowed to do it, regardless of the Constitution. As long as the data backs what they're trying to do or what they're trying to say, then they should be able to do it. And they can't. So yes, it is repugnant. It is absolutely repugnant. Now, what he says here is, what's repugnant is this ruling. No, this ruling, again, upholds the rule of law, which obviously you don't care about, which greenlights the proliferation of guns in our hospitals, again, goes to all the stuff, which should be safe for all. What he doesn't understand is that by banning people who wish to defend themselves and potentially others in these spaces, you're making it less safe for all. It is exactly, for all intents and purposes, completely the opposite of what you said. I mean, do you really think that, and he probably does think this, but does he really think that people who are willing to go through all of the trouble that California makes you go through, so getting your fingerprint, right, get your fingerprints done, going through these intense background checks, paying tons of fees, going through training, going through the entire process just to get a permit, do you think those are the bad guys? No, what you're doing by saying that is we want to, and I still can't wrap my head around this, but we want to disarm the good guys who are willing to go through our entire process so that the people who could care less about our process have free reign. That's what you're saying. You're taking power away from those who wish to do good and instead giving it to those who wish to do bad. I mean, that's basically what it boils down to. So, I mean, if you want to talk about common sense, that's the most common sense thing that I can think of. Now, what he says at the bottom right here, where it says California will keep fighting to defend our laws and to enshrine a right to safety in the Constitution, is basically a reference to his 28th Amendment. So his 28th Amendment, which we all know is going absolutely nowhere, just taking a look at the states that have constitutional carry right now and the number of states that he would need in order to show support for something like this. I mean, you want to talk about data. I'll talk about data all day long. The data doesn't match up. You don't have enough support for this. It's not going to happen. You don't have support from the people. But this is as much clear proof as you would need that it's not about safety. It's about control. They don't like something. They have an agenda. They want to ban it. They don't really care about it, but they use words like safety to try and make it seem palatable to those people who just don't know any better. We want to take your rights away for safety, when it does the exact opposite, but we're just going to say that because, again, it's easier to swallow. So he's trying to push his 28th Amendment through this. He's trying to say that, this is all about safety when it's the complete opposite. This is just absolutely absurd on pretty much every level. Now, obviously, this is going to get appealed up to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and I'm sure you guys recognize that pretty much instantly. And the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has not been friendly to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, or the rule of law. They have played some games recently with cases that went up there. They've made some emergency decisions and bypassed, procedure. It's been an absolute game up at the Ninth Circuit. So we know this is going up there, and we know that they're going to treat this the same as other cases that have made it there recently. But in this order, at least thankfully, there was not a stay placed on his own order from the judge. So the judge didn't issue his order and then immediately stay it. This is an injunction pending the outcome of this case. And so the California government would have to get an emergency stay from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals placed on this injunction before it took effect on January 1st of 2024. Will that happen? I'm not sure. We've seen, again, the Ninth Circuit play games, so we know that they have their ways of getting things done, and it is possible that they could stay this injunction before it actually takes effect, but I would say that it's unlikely. Will it happen afterwards? More than likely, but we're not sure exactly when. So we'll see what happens. We'll follow the case and see, how everything turns out. I think in the end, we're going to get a win out of this one, completely, whether it ends up at the Supreme Court or not. But again, California is going to try and stay this injunction. So we'll watch it close and I'll let you guys know what happens. But I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And let's keep actual common sense in the conversation, not made up common sense. Again, thanks for watching. You guys have a great one.